Hello friends, welcome back to the Life Reset Collective channel, and today we are talking about healing from burnout, my step-by-step routine. I want to talk about the definition for burnout real quick. Basically, this will help set the tone for what we're actually talking about in the video today. Burnout can be described, and I'm using kind of general life burnout. There's work burnout. There's actually a lot of different types of burnout, but I'm calling it general life burnout. So this could apply to your work, relationships, whatever. General life burnout is a chronic state of deep exhaustion, emotional detachment, and a fading sense of effectiveness that arises when the combined demands of everyday roles, work, caregiving, relationships, finances, studies, self-care, etc., repeatedly exceed your available time, energy, and support, leaving you running on empty across life as a whole rather than in just one setting. So that's basically how we're defining burnout, and we've all probably been there. And today we're going to talk about my 6 steps that I've used in my life to basically heal burnout. There's no way probably that any of us are ever going to get away without some burnout in our lives. It's sort of par for the course when you're going through life and you're human to get burnt out, but you can help a lot. And I did some research. I basically combined my most effective methods with some research to see if there was good scientific reason for me talking about my methods. And as it turns out, they're pretty valid, and they cover quite a spectrum of what are generally considered useful practices for overcoming burnout, healing burnout in your life. So we're going to dive into that. Before we do, I just want to give you a quick, basically, mission statement. This is what this channel is about. The Life Reset Collective's mission is to empower people to rebuild and reset their lives, whatever a fresh start looks like for them, through compassionate community, actionable steps, and enduring hope. I myself have been through 2 divorces and had to completely hit the reset button after each one, starting my life basically over from scratch. If you have ever been in a situation, or you're currently in a situation where you're kind of having to start over and rebuild after calamity of some kind, this is the channel for you. I welcome you, and I'm glad you are here. And my hope is that you will find help, you'll find actionable steps, and that you will find hope here as we talk about this thing. So, judgment-free zone. Do not want to judge for your past. Don't want to judge me for my past. We want to talk about moving forward and having hope, having happiness, having success on the road ahead as we begin the next chapter of our life. So with that being said, let's dive into my steps here. So step number 1, perform a reset. Okay, and I like to think about this when I come into a situation in my life where I'm experiencing a lot of burnout, which is right now probably most likely to happen with either work or some of my goals. I have a lot going on in my life right now because I am in the middle of a life reset right now, which is part of what prompted me to start this channel, because I'm right in it and I'm dealing with all this stuff firsthand. So, but when I conceptualize this idea of hitting the reset button at certain parts of that journey, this is very helpful to me. So for example, this might mean resetting for my work week. Like on Sunday night, this might mean, okay, I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to take Sunday off. I'm not going to stress about a bunch of stuff. I'm going to reset and prepare for Sunday. This is one example of kind of a reset I might do for the work week coming up. I might reset my relationships by clearing the air with them, right? So sometimes I have this thing where I can tend to feel chronically guilty about things, like, for example, being an absent friend. Sometimes even just sharing my feelings with people, like talking to them. Like, they're like, hey, how are you doing, Josh? And I'll talk to them. But then when I share with people, sometimes it makes me feel weird. It makes me feel like, well, I shouldn't have done that. I don't think that they probably think that, but that's kind of how I feel for some reason. I guess is I don't want to put upon people and that kind of thing, which, I mean, I'm probably not, but still, that can get to me in a form of burnout. So what I'll do is I'll maybe send a message, and I'll just be honest. I'll say, hey, look, you've been really awesome to me lately. I know that I've been talking a lot about my problems. I just want to tell you I appreciate you. I just hope it's not too much for you, and I want to let you know how much you mean to me. Like that kind of message, basically clearing the air. And this helps me to kind of reset in a relationship, right? If something like this is going on, and these are just two examples of many examples it could be, but basically performing some kind of a small micro reset, giving yourself a fresh start and a fresh run at kind of the area of burnout. So kind of like a pulling back, a resting, a resetting, and then walk back into it after you've had a bit of a reset. That's the strategy, and to me, that has been really effective. It's especially effective for work. I give myself like a day to check out and just do that little reset. And that's going to lead us to step number 2, performing mindfulness exercises, especially exercises that remind me that I'm not perfect, that I don't have to be, and that it's okay if I fall behind a bit or need to take some time to heal, recover, rest, etc. So mindfulness exercises for me a lot of times involve kind of two things. There's an element of quiet and rest, and then there's an element of meditation and self-talk. And I do this a lot. In fact, when I started doing this in my life, I noticed that I gained a much higher level of awareness about myself and about life in general. But I would like just talk to myself about all the things that are going wrong. Talk to myself. I will literally be like, all right, Josh, we have to have a talk. I'll be like walking at the park somewhere private where I can talk freely and openly and out loud to myself. And I'll say, I'm stressed out and frustrated about a lot of things. And then I'll just go down the list and I'll say them. I'll state them out loud. And so this for me is a mindfulness exercise, and it really helps me when I'm going through burnout. It helps me to name the problems. It helps me to basically vent the problems, get them out of me, out into the open. I really have this belief that when we keep negative things, toxic things inside, they can make us sick, maybe emotionally sick, maybe psychologically sick, maybe even physically sick, spiritually sick, whatever. But if we keep them inside, they're just going to be like bad food we left in the cupboard, and it's going to start to spoil, and it's going to be a bad situation. So get it out of there. Get it out. Like maybe you can't expunge all of the bad things that are going on right in this moment, but one thing you can do is you can vocalize them, give them a face, give them a name, and basically just say, this sucks, and then say it to yourself, right? So this is a mindfulness exercise that's really helpful when I'm going through burnout. And I'll also list the things I'm grateful for. This is another mindfulness exercise, and this will go hand in hand. I'll say, I'm so grateful that I'm healthy. I'm so grateful that I don't have, this or this happening. I'm so grateful that I have work, and, I'll go on down the list. I'm so happy that my kids are healthy. I'll go on down the list of things I really am thankful for. And so that sort of self-talk mixed with that gratitude exercise is basically how I perform mindfulness exercises, and it's really helpful for overcoming burnout. And that leads us to step number 3. If the burnout is in any way related to dieting, exercise, physical fitness, etc., this is kind of specific because I can get really burnt out on this. I remind myself that life is very busy, and we don't always have the time or the presence of mind to count calories or do extreme workouts every day. So I try to just do what I can, make a plan for moving forward, and maybe give myself a few days to rest before I jump back into the grind. So this is interesting. Before, in my life, back after my first divorce and during my first divorce, I was constantly at the gym. I was constantly counting calories. I wanted to basically cut weight, get in really good shape, get really healthy. I wanted to look really good so I could go back out and date again and these types of things. But the second time around, I will admit, I have not had that motivation. So going through divorce right now, I don't have that motivation to go out there and work hard at the gym. I don't really have that motivation to count the calories and calorie restrict. And to be really honest, I really think that before there was a part of me that was desperate for love, and I think that basically working out associated, like I associated that with I'll find love because I'll be more attractive. And now I don't feel this desperate need for love. What I feel is a desperate need for peace. And I feel a desperate need to wake up and feel hopeful and good about the forward trajectory of success in my life. So that question of success in like my business and in my financial life, in life stability, those types of things, and for my spiritual being and my emotional being, those are way more pressing on my mind this time around and right now than going to the gym. So going to the gym is actually really difficult for me. I do go, but it's actually interesting. It's not pleasant. And what I mean is the workouts are fine. It's not emotionally pleasant. So I give myself a lot of space for that. I can get so burnt out so fast working out right now. And I think that this is something to keep in mind. Sometimes in life, we're going to get more potentially burnt out by trying to like work out, count calories, these things than at other times. And I think it's important to give yourself room and space for that. This channel is not about judging you. This channel is not about trying to tell you what you should have done better. This channel is not about trying to tell you you need to be super goal oriented and work to get yourself back on top. I know you want to get back on top. I know you want to get back on your feet. I know you don't want to deal with burnout anymore. I know that if you could wave a magic wand and just deploy the perfect solution, you would have done it by now. And I'm the same way. Sometimes it's not that simple, and I'm here to try to give you basically a perspective of understanding, because burnout is a very real thing, and sometimes we don't know exactly what to do about it. But I'm going to tell you this: stressing yourself out over working out and counting calories, that may add to the burnout instead of taking away from it. You might need to give yourself a weekend and just check out. Maybe skip the gym for the weekend or for the next few days, or maybe don't count calories at all the next few days, and just give yourself time to reset and not be burnt out. And then go back to like that step one, like I was saying, and basically give yourself a little 24, 48, 72 hour reset. And then say, okay, after this, I'll start easing my way back into the gym. I'll start easing my way back into this healthy diet, whatever. I'm a super advocate for maintaining your health and wellness, but if you're in a constant state of burnout and you have anxiety because of that, or you have anger because of that, or whatever it is, exhaustion, this isn't good for you either. And just going to the gym and working out and adding up on top of that, I do not believe is necessarily the right path for everybody. Maybe there are some people who find, let's say, they find healing through working out. And I have been in that place before, but I also know that that's not true for everybody. So, all right, now we're going to move on to number 4. I sleep a lot more than usual. One of the very best, in my experience, just it never fails. It's been this way my whole life. And I'm sure that you can relate to this. Sleep a lot, sleep often. Especially if we're going through a difficult time, especially if we have bad situations going on in life, especially if we're going through some kind of life reset and we're dealing with burnout, stress, anxiety, whatever it is. Giving yourself time to sleep is really important. Sleep heals the body. I also believe that it helps to clear out our mind. I believe that sleep can give us a reset all on its own, and we need that. We need that for hope and for happiness, and we need that to believe that we can keep going, and we need it just for rest and for our own well-being. And so I would encourage you to maybe, if you're feeling really burnt out, schedule a good solid 12 hours where you can just sleep, and a lot of people nowadays will have trouble sleeping because they'll stay awake and scroll on their phone, or they'll watch shows. It's so easy to get distracted and let that encroach on sleep, and that actually takes a lot of discipline to not do. I will lay awake and I will watch videos and doom scroll, and my mind will start to race, and it's a cycle. And I would like to just tell you that you're not alone in that. And I would love to encourage you to do this for yourself. Give yourself some time to sleep and to try to figure out a way to where you can sleep without needing to set an alarm. Just sleep until you wake up. I know that this isn't always possible. We have families, we have kids, we have work, we have jobs. This is very difficult to do in some life situations, but hope I hope that you could find a way to deploy this step in your own life, even if it's just a little bit, even if it means, going to bed at, 4 in the afternoon, right when you get off work one day, instead of staying up and doing the normal things you do. Maybe let the dishes go, let the laundry go, just get in bed the minute you get home and sleep. And then maybe you'll wake up before your alarm goes off the next day, and then that will give you that rest you need. But sleep is a massively beneficial medicine and a practice for overcoming burnout. In my experience and in my opinion, there's very few things that are as powerful as that. Number 5, I give myself time for prayer and meditation, for anchoring into the sacred. Okay, so this is probably not the item on this list that I do the most. This is probably an item that I will only utilize maybe 10% of the time when I'm trying to get over burnout. But I do have a list of prayers that I say, and I actually have a rosary. I'm not actually Catholic. I'm not even necessarily Christian. I'm technically agnostic. But I do believe that there is a higher power. I believe that humankind has always known this, and we have invented many religions and prayers to try to get closer to our higher power. And I believe that this process of communing with the higher power is beneficial. So I have a list of prayers from many different faiths. I have some Catholic prayers on my list. I have some Buddhist meditations on that list. I have some Hindu prayers. I have some prayers from Islam. I have some prayers from basically the religions practiced by some African tribesmen, basically that have people who've lived in that part of the world, the religions that they have practiced. And I'm not an expert on these types of religions, but there are some beautiful prayers that come from those religions. And so I've got some of those on my list. And sometimes I'll just take a walk, or I'll sit down somewhere quiet and I'll take my rosary and I'll just start praying those prayers. I'll go maybe down my whole list and I'll pray all of them. And there's a sense of peace and calm that brings me. And I think that this is very beneficial for combating burnout. I think it's more beneficial for some people than others, but it is a technique that I use sometimes, especially if I'm feeling really emotionally burnt out, or that I'm experiencing a lot of guilt about the past, or I'm experiencing a lot of inner turmoil. This can really help me. And then that's going to lead to step number 6. I take a break. Maybe I decide not to force myself to do anything productive for a weekend, and also not be upset at myself or feel stressed for taking that time. And this is basically, so common sense. Just experiencing burnout, step back and take a break. There are many reasons for why we may not automatically do this. You might think it's a waste of time. Some people might actually struggle to find time to do this in their schedule. But friends, I've got to tell you that sometimes you do need a break, and finding a way to have a break might be really, really important to help you overcome burnout. If it's something that's going to require you to take a couple days off work, maybe you should do it. You might be worried about your career. Be like, well, taking time off work, that cuts into the paycheck, that cuts into my odds of getting the promotion, whatever. I totally understand that. But at the same time, if we just push to the point where we are burning out, then that's going to hurt us. That's going to hurt our ability to stay consistent. It's going to hurt our ability to apply ourselves to the things in life that we really care about. And I would so much rather see you address the burnout and kind of get it under control, and then collect yourself, give yourself a little reset, and then go back to work. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. That's the thing, is that every life is so different. And so my main concern here on this one is, however that looks for you, however it's doable for you, taking a little break and just kind of backing off a little bit might be one of the best things you do to help yourself heal from burnout. And those are my 6 tips. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Josh with the Life Reset Collective, and I'll see you awesome people on the next one.